Hello, welcome to Otaku Underground Radio podcast, episode 11. This is like the third episode 11 that we've done. Episode 11 has been a cursed episode for us because the first episode 11 was a karaoke podcast that I had the brilliant idea of just recording my voice and then you asking the viewers to sync up the music to my voice, and that way you guys can sing along too, because you'd be watching the karaoke videos that I had set up in a playlist. But nobody, after reading Kevin's comment, I realized, oh crap, if Kevin's not even going to follow the rules of that podcast, nobody else is going to, so I deleted it. It's not just because, I'm embarrassed of my voice. I'm not embarrassed. I've done like 2 karaoke podcasts. This is that it's going to sound dumb with no music, right? And the second time I did that podcast, episode 11 podcast, it was too funny. Because I was sick, right? I was sick, and I've been listening to a lot of Matt and Shane's secret podcasts. I was a bit too edgy, emulating the boys of that podcast. So I made some jokes I probably should have done, and I couldn't upload it because I live in a country that doesn't believe in freedom anymore, right? Which is why we're libertarians now. We're no longer, well, we're still like, we still support, like, counterculture. We're counterculture. We're the true counterculture. Hence the underground podcasts. But yeah, we're libertarians now, and yeah. So, but we're still gonna talk about the same topics of last podcast that we did, right? Which the topics we're gonna be talking about. Let me just pull up the failed podcast, which I'm still gonna use a lot of the same like crap. We're gonna talk about Digimon Survive, Live a Live, Jason Momoa saving the DCEU for now, and we're gonna talk about the Dungeons and Dragons trailer, which I also want to talk about my take on the Albuquerque put up 2 bronze statues of Walter White and Jesse from Breaking Bad, and I guess the 2 actors who portrayed them showed up for the statue. The statue is unveiling. Here's the thing: making statues of fictional characters is one thing, but I just find it weird that okay, people made fun of Philadelphia. Well, nobody makes fun of Philadelphia, but like nobody made fun of Philadelphia when people kind of make fun of the Philadelphia Rocky statue. People made fun of the RoboCop statue in Detroit, but we're okay with statues of TV criminals from like a popular drama show. Okay, that kind of sends to me the wrong message, because Rocky is a hero in his own way. RoboCop is a hero, an ultra-violent hero, but he's still a hero. Here we have statues of 2 criminals, right? Which are not both Walter White and Jesse are not good people. Which is why for the longest time I could never watch Breaking Bad, because it was like I mean, I'll watch clips, and I enjoy watching the clips, but the TV show I can't watch because it's like I can't like emphasize with these like criminal characters, and it's like, okay, yeah, Walter White, you know, he's like, oh, he's dying of cancer, he's poor, he wants to support his family, right? And like he feels like he doesn't want to like his brother-in-law to take care of his family, right? Because he feels emasculated, right? But it's like, dude, you're super smart. You can't fucking come up with another way to make money except for cooking meth. Which apparently, like, people were like, oh, we own the night, we own the city, like, cop character that John Bernal played, where he was stealing money from criminals until he started selling the drugs that they stole. Then he was a bad guy. Okay, Walter White did that, and you guys still love him. So it's like, what the hell? So I think that's a little messed up, but it is what it is, I guess. Yeah. So I don't know. I'm not cool with the Breaking Bad statue, but yeah. That's why right now I'm more of a fan of Better Call Saul, because the Better Call Saul is like, yeah, Jimmy's still a criminal, but like, you know, he tries to do the right thing, right? Yeah. So okay, so first we'll talk about Digimon Survive, which I picked up my copy. Well, I didn't pick up my copy of Digimon Survive. I had a problem where last week, if you guys knew, no, I was sick, right? I had a cold. And because of the bullshit that happened the last 2 years, people still get nervous when you know, people have colds and shit. Even though, like, even like my cousin, who I'm taking care of his like house, I like right before I was supposed to meet up with him before he went on his trip, right? To talk about the stuff I'm supposed to do for his family. I said I had a cold, and he's like, you know, keep the cold to yourself. Right? And yeah, so like, you know, people are still nervous. So I got a call, right, that my copy of Digimon Survive came in, which the week before, right, when I went to pick up Live a Live, I found out from Kevin, hey, that Digimon Survive was also coming out for the PS4. So that's when I changed my pre-order to a PS4 copy, right? So like, they call me and they're like, you know, it's some chick, some woman, and young woman, and she's like saying like, oh, yeah, I have your copy of Digimon Survive. Can you come pick it up? And I'm like, well, I'm sick. I don't want to get anybody sick. You know, can you hold it? You know, what can we do, right? And because I don't want to get people sick. And she's like, oh, we can hold it for 7 days. When normally their policy for holding games is 3 days, which is bullshit, especially when you already put money down on the product, right? Which I already put like $50 down. And I'm like, okay, you can hold it for 7 days? That's great. And she's like, you need the whole 7 days? It's like, you said 7 days, woman. Lady. Young woman. Young lady. Right? And so I'm like, what the hell? I'm like, what the hell? And I'm like, oh, fuck, forget it. I'll just ask, you know, my mom to pick it up, right, for me. Which, you know, when I was sick, and I'm like calling my mom, hey, like, can you pick up, you know, I don't want to go out to get people sick. Can you go out and pick me up some stuff, like cold medicine or whatever? A day and a half later, she gets me medicine, and it's sinus and like, it's sinus and allergy medicine, which I took for like 2 days, right? And it did nothing. It did nothing, right? So imagine my shock when my mom actually on Friday night, she stopped by and she's like, oh, she picked up the game for me, and what do you know? it's a Nintendo Switch copy. And I'm like, what the fuck? I asked for... Initially, it was a Nintendo Switch copy, right? But I had changed it to a PS4 copy because, you know, I'm already playing Live a Live, and I'm a lazy fuck, you know, so I want to keep the Live a Live game in the Nintendo Switch, you know, and maybe I'll put in the Digimon Survive game into PS4 and play that, you know, once in a while, right? Then there's the fact that, you know, I already have, like, you know, some of the other Digimon games that came out for the PS4, so I want to keep all my Digimon PS4 games, you know, together, right? Like Digimon World Next Order and Digimon Story Cyber Sleuth. Still need to get Hacker's Memory. It's fucking hard to find. So, yeah. So, I get Nintendo Switch copy, and I'm like, what the fuck? Man, like, did they not read the receipt? And I checked the new receipt that was added to the old receipt for the pre-order, and what would you guess what it said on that receipt? PS4 Digimon Survive. So it's like, what the fuck, man? What the fuck? And like, and the shitty thing is, you know, I'm still like on the edge of whether or not I'm good enough to go out places. And then there's the fact, well, if I go in to complain that, hey, this somebody screwed up my order. I was supposed to get, you know, PS4 copy. You gave me Nintendo Switch copy. You know, game shop, you know, game stores have a high turnover rate, which means a lot of people get fired, right? Especially in the first 3 months, right? And so there's a chance that the lady or whoever did it, which is, it says the name of the person on the receipt, right? So I didn't even check, but like, yeah, there's a chance it was a new employee, and if I went in to complain, you know, I would get this person fired, which has happened before, actually, where I accidentally got people fired because I bitched about you guys fucking up my pre-orders, which has happened, right? So I try. So now that I know that, I try not to, like, you know, complain as much. But it's like, fuck, man, it's such bullshit, right? So I'm stuck with the Nintendo Switch copy, which the game is mostly a visual novel now, so it's kind of better to play it on a Nintendo Switch handheld. So like you can, like, you know, you can read it whenever around the house, which fucking assholes couldn't add an English dub. And like I know, like, people are like, you know, a lot of people who don't read books like visual novels because it's basically it's basically like a video game version of the book. But like, I fucking hate visual novels because they don't have enough gameplay. They're barely fucking games to me, man. They're barely fucking games. And I'm like I was like an hour into the prologue, and I'm like an hour in the prologue and still no Digimon battles. I mean, there was a Digimon battle when you first start up the game. They give you like a Renamon and fuck, what's Matt's Digimon from Adventure? Oh god. I'm fucking blanking, man. I can't remember the name of every fucking Digimon. I don't know how you Pokemon freaks do it, but like, yeah, I can't remember, cause like I always nickname my Digimon, right? You can do that. You can do that in Digimon games too, not just in Pokemon games. Yeah, but like, yeah, so that fucking sucks. I'm gonna try to finish Live Alive before I go back to Jumanji 5, which I fucking hate the game already. I'm turning into a boomer where like every new game I get, I fucking hate, man. I should just stick to my old backlog and finish those games, right? Which I was very close to beating Shadow Hearts, which I was playing casually, but then these new games came out that I wanted, so yeah. Oh, but I'll go back and finish Shadow Hearts later. Fuck it. It's not like I review games. I try to review games anymore because it's like it's too hard. it's too much of a hassle. But like yeah, we're gonna do a semi review for Live Alive right now. Which for people who don't know what Live Alive is, it's a remake or sorry, it's like HD remaster of a SNES RPG we never got, where it has like seven stories, chapters, with an eighth one where you can unlock, where you play like you play a main character in like a different setting. So like you have basically 8 games in one, right? You have the prehistory era where you play like a cave boy. You have the Wild West where you play like a gunman. You have Imperial China where you play an old kung fu master. You have the Edo Japan period where you play a ninja. Present day where you play like an MMA kind of fighter. The near future where you play like a cyberpunk character. And you have the distant future where you play a robot. And then you have the Middle Ages where it's like more of a traditional fantasy game. So I cleared like 3 of these. And I'm currently playing the Wild West era. So the gameplay kind of changes per like chapter, which it's still like turn base, and you have an over map where you can go around and explore like the area, but like then you get into battles with people, and then it's kind of turn based, but it's kind of like Chrono Trigger where you have different moves, right? And it can hit a certain amount of opponents that you're fighting, right? You have moves that have a range attack or short range that attacks that can attack many people or a lot of people, and like the enemies have different weaknesses, like the different elements or different kind of attacks. So for the prehistory chapter, which is the first chapter I played, you play this cave boy who lives in a cave with this gorilla who's your only your first party member, and you go out hunting for food and like materials that you can combine to make weapons and armor and stuff. So there's like crafting instead of buying items. Right? And what happens is that this girl shows up and she starts living with you, and the girl gets captured by this other tribe of cavemen who want to sacrifice her to a T-Rex, which you go out to save the girl from the T-Rex, and you fight the T-Rex, and that's the end of that chapter. Which that chapter only took me 2 hours to beat. And in that chapter, there's no dialogue. People talk with like pixel art, right? Because I guess caveman didn't have like a language, right? So in the second chapter I played, the Imperial China chapter, which was also only 2 hours to beat. That one was somewhat open world at first, but then it turned into like a strategy RPG where you just go to the next battle, right? Like there was no like you moving around places, right? Which at first it's the story for the Imperial China chapter is you're an old kung fu master who's living on a mountain who's going to die soon, so you go out into the world to collect apprentices, right? And this is when you find out, there's actual voice acting in the game, right? Which I don't really need for like a game like this where it's like supposed to be like a retro game. right? But whatever. There's voice acting, which is it's kind of woke voice acting because you look at the cast and they got like they casted people like they casted all Asian actors for the Imperial China chapter, which is like okay, whatever. I guess it would have been offensive if they hadn't, right? And like you go out to recruit three apprentices. One's a female bandit. One's like a poor thief who stealing for his sick grandmother for medicine. And one's like a fat like homeless guy who you promised to give him food, right? So what ends up happening is after you collected these party members, you get into fights with them to level them up, and you can only have like 4 battles like a day, right? So like to level them up. So you try to, not knowing what's going to happen, you try to level them up equally. What ends up happening is rival kung fu school, which as somebody who's seen Shaw Brothers kung fu movies, I probably should have saw this happen, but I didn't see this happening. Rival kung fu school shows up to your school to kill 2 out of 3 of your apprentices. You can pretty much guess which one survived, right? And like you and the final remaining apprentice who is not level capped, which you start off level capped, right? Which the level cap, the Kung Fu Master does. Which the level cap in this game is like level 10. Because, the chapters only take like 2 hours to beat, right? Go out to fight the rival Kung Fu school. And then, like, I'm not going to spoil it, but yeah. That only took 2 hours to beat. It was a little woke. And the last chapter I beat, which I'm currently on the Wild West one, is the Twilight of Edo, Japan, the ninja chapter, which was kind of cool because there was stealth mechanics, and like the aesthetic of the game reminded me of Tenchu and like old school Ninja Gaiden. So it's like Ninja Gaiden meets Metal Gear Solid, where you're this like ninja that gets sent into this castle town to find and free this prisoner, right? And while you're like level 1, right, and pretty much everybody can kill you, right? And so you have to be stealthy, but at the same time you have to pick and choose who to kill to level up, right? Because there are unavoidable battles in this game. So in this game, there's this mini map that has symbols to show you where you need to go to advance the story, right? Because with Super Nintendo games, like to advance the story a lot of time, like you would have to like talk to random people or whatever, right? So they put like markers on this mini map that kind of point in the direction where you need to go. The radar is fucking useless in this fucking chapter. This chapter took me like almost 4 hours to beat. Like it was like 3.5. When normally these chapters are only 2 hours each, right? Because I kept getting fucking lost. And there are traps where you just fall into the dungeon, fall into the cell of a dungeon. So after like being lost for like an hour or so, for 2 hours or whatever, I just said fuck it. I'll let myself get thrown in the dungeon, right? Because that's the quickest shortcut to the dungeon where you're supposed to go save the guy, right? So I get thrown in the dungeon. At first I couldn't figure out what to do to get out of the locked room, right? The cell. I press the stealth button, which is the Y button, and it's like that old ninja trick where, like, if you're in the woods, he pulls up like a painting of like a tree and hides behind it, so it's like so he blends in. So you have like that kind of like move you could do for stealth, right? And I did that to make myself look invisible. So the samurai went to the cell, right, to see where I went. So I got out and I had to fight the samurai guard and got my ass kicked because he was too high level. So I had to go back and grind, which there's an autosave feature in this game, by the way. Go back and grind, fight a win, go to save the prisoner, which you thought was a girl. Turns out it wasn't a girl. The prisoner's actually a dude you're supposed to rescue. A samurai who's actually uses guns. So like, yeah, it turns out it's a trap. You get thrown into this like ghost forest where you have this unkillable ghost guy who is preventing you from leaving, and even if you beat him in battle, he just respawns and you're stuck, right? So I had to figure out how to get out of that fucking room so I could, go back to try to beat the game, right? So it turns out you're supposed to kill all the little ghosts that are roaming around that ghost forest, spirit forest, and then fight the dude and win, right? Which a lot of your moves suck. A lot of your fighting techniques suck until you unlock the Shuriken Barrage. Then it's like OP, and then you start to learn the really good attacks, right, in the higher levels, right? You don't get good attacks until I think level 5 or 7, I can't remember. Which there's only 10 levels, right? Once you get out of there, you get reunited. You actually get to meet the actual prisoner you're supposed to save, which is this rodent guy who joins your party, has a gun, right? And he doesn't want to leave. He wants to go and kill the lord of the castle before he escapes, right? Which it turns out to be Oda. It's not Oda Nobunaga, but it's basically Oda Nobunaga. Which, if people don't know who Oda Nobunaga is, he's like the Alexander the Great of Japan, where he wanted to conquer all of Japan under him, right? And he's pretty cool. He went to Europe and brought over guns to Japan, right? And he also I don't know if this is true, but there's pictures of him wearing European plate armor. So he was he was kind of like European weeb. he wasn't a weeaboo. He was a weeaboo for European shit in Japan, which was kind of cool. Yeah. So that chapter. It's a thing where it was when I beat it, yay, but when I was struggling, fuck. I was like, fuck this game. So here's my thoughts with the game, right? Here's my thoughts with the game. So I initially wanted Live a Live in the first place because it reminded me of Romancing Saga. Which Romancing Saga was a series of games for the, by Square for the SNES and PlayStation 1 and PlayStation 2, which was basically very Western RPG style, but in a Japanese RPG game, right? With beautiful character designs, side quests, multiple party members for you to have join your party, and multiple characters you can choose from, right, to go and adventure as, right? And I played Romancing Saga for the PlayStation 2. That game, I picked one character and I got to 20 hours in, right? and I even beat that character's story arc. The Romancing Saga games are like great for like people who bitch that Western Japanese RPGs are too singular, right? You want like an open world. For people who want open world and more choice. The problem with Romancing Saga games are, this is more like the PS1 and the PS2 era, where they had this stupid fucking mechanic where the monsters that would spawn, right, would scale to the strongest party member of your party. Which I think in later games it was more like, they would scale to your party. But in the PS1, like Saga Frontier games, or maybe not Saga Frontier, but definitely Saga Frontier 1. I meant, you know what I mean. I don't know if Saga Frontier 2 had this problem, but Saga Frontier 1 definitely did. And it made those games unfucking playable after a certain point. Because if you didn't get your full team of party members as early as possible in those games, right? And you would end up fucking yourself over by like the random monsters that would spawn would be stronger than you and your party, right? While the bosses would always they would stay static, right? So I wanted to play a Romancing Saga style game without actually playing a Romancing Saga game, right? So that's why I picked up Live Alive. The problem with the Live Alive games is that each chapter is super fucking short, and I've played fucking RPG Maker games on Steam that had more fucking depth and more like more. I wouldn't say more passion, but it was like definitely like I played like fucking RPG Maker games that were longer than like these stories, which are only take like 2 hours to beat, man. They should have made each chapter at least 5 hours, at least 2 hours. Like these don't even feel. They don't feel like they feel like vignettes, right? Like which is. Vignettes. It's like short stories, man. Like you're not getting like a full story with these 2 hour fucking games, man. And that's the biggest fucking problem, man. And it's not like, and there's no side quests or anything, right? So it's like you can't. It's not even like, well, if you did all the side quests, you would have 5 hour experience. No, there's like no side quests. Really. So it's like, what the fuck, man? Some of these you don't even get open world shit. Like, you don't even get to explore, really. Except for maybe, like, the ninja chapter, right? So, I don't know. Like, this game is more... This game, really, you can tell it's only gonna take most people 20 or 30 hours to beat. Probably closer to the 20 mark. And, some people prefer shorter JRPGs, right? But like at least with those JRPGs, they're not selling you on like multiple chapters. You have like a single story, right? So a single story that's 20 hours long, that's fine. But like 8 stories that are like 2 hours each, like you're not getting a full experience, really. And I know like Super Nintendo games tend to be shorter than games nowadays, but fuck, dude, this game is too fucking short for like $65, man. And I know I technically haven't beaten the game, and I'm acting like but like you can if I'm like halfway through the game at like 7 hours, like halfway through the chapters at 7 hours, like come on, man. There's no way, like, and some of the characters died after the chapter, so I know there's not going to be a chapter 2 like after I clear chapter all the chapters. I don't know. Maybe the final chapter, the Middle Ages chapter, will be longer. But yeah, I don't know, man. So if you're in my initial thoughts for this game, and would I recommend this for $65? Fuck no. Unless you're a hardcore fan of Super Nintendo RPGs, then maybe check it out. But for $65, fuck no, unless you have money to burn. Which in this economy, I doubt that's the case, man. Like we're already in recession. It's probably going to get way fucking worse, man. Yeah, but I kind of hope that Live by Live sells well, and that we get more like Super Nintendo remakes or like remasters of Japanese games we never got. Like I've heard, I've heard Bahamut, what's it called? Bahamut Lagoon is one of the greatest Square RPGs ever made, and we never got it. Right? So I would really enjoy that game. And there's also there's this one well, I think it was I think it was either a Super Nintendo RPG or a Sega Genesis, but there was this one dark fantasy 16-bit RPG where the monsters in the game were basically rip-offs of H.R. Geiger designs, which I bought it on the Nintendo Wii U shop, but the fucking thing was in Japanese. They didn't fucking translate it. So if someone were to do an HD remaster of that would be fucking sick. There's lots of great fucking 16-bit RPGs we never got, and hopefully if this sells well, we get more of those. But if they do, they either need to have a collection like the Sonic Ultimate Collection, where they just put all those games translated on a single disc, sell full price. Not this bullshit where you kind of, make the graphics a little prettier and then you sell it for practically full price. That's fucking bullshit. They need to do it like the Sonic Ultimate Game Collection, where they put all those fucking games on one disc. There you go. Right? They're great. The game devs, the game companies, they are super fucking greedy compared to the previous gens. Yeah. Especially Square. Fuck you, Square. You got $65 for this fucking 20-hour game. Fuck, man. Yeah. Okay, so the next topic we're gonna talk about, which is the main topic that this podcast is gonna be named after, which is Jason Momoa saves the DCEU. For people who don't know, what happened is over the weekend or whatever, it was leaked that Jason Momoa got Ben Affleck a cameo role in Aquaman 2, which Aquaman 2 was supposed to come out after The Flash, right? And was supposed to have a cameo with Micah Keaton, but because of the Ezra Miller bullshit, the Flash movie had to be delayed until WB can get off their fucking ass and decide what the fuck to do, right? So I guess Jason Momoa was guys, let's just get rid of the Michael Keaton cameo, so we can make the movie take place before the fucking reboot they're planning. Which the Flash movie was somewhat based off the Flashpoint graphic novel by Jeff Johns, where that led to the reboots of the DC comics and turn it into like the fucking New 52. Which the New 52 wasn't bad, but when it eventually turned into was pretty bad. But like, yeah, they were planning on fucking getting rid of Henry Cavill's Superman, getting rid of Ben Affleck Batman, replacing him with Michael Keaton Batman from the Tim Burton movies, and have him pass the cowl to like Batgirl, Barbara Gordon. So they were planning, these retards at DC under the Hamada fucking regime, Walter Hamada regime, were planning on replacing Batman and Superman with Batgirl and Supergirl, which is fucking retarded. They even have like apparently it was leaked that they have a scene just like Man of Steel in the new Flash movie, but with Supergirl versus Zod, while Flash is going to the buildings to move the people to safety, so they don't get killed during the Supergirl and Zod fight. Which I always assumed during that fight in Man of Steel, when like Superman is fucking pushing Zod through those buildings, that he's like X-raying them first to make sure that, hey, there's no people in those fucking buildings, right? But people are too fucking stupid to realize that. They just think, oh, Superman's just going around killing people. Fucking dumbasses. Some things you don't need to be told, you should just assume. Fucking guys. So yeah, everybody, all the Snyder people were like celebrating, hey, Jason Momoa got Ben Affleck back to play Batman, which is just in a small cameo, right? Which, Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson was telling people that he was going to do something similar, that he was going to get Henry Cavill Superman back, and he was going to have him in the Black Adam 2. Sorry, in the Black Adam movie, right? And he told people Henry Cavill was going to be at the convention, and that turned out to be all lies. Well, because of the backlash from that, I hear that they might actually plan on bringing Henry Cavill Superman back as Superman, which DC is fucking retarded. Because of the bad reviews for like Zack Snyder's movies, they want to basically just retcon everything, destroy everything, and then copy the Marvel and their MCU bullshit, which is fucking retarded. Build upon what you already have. Don't fucking take that shit away. Fucking dumbasses. Alright. And I also wanted to rant about the JSA trailer. Which, not the JSA trailer, the Black Adam trailer, where it's like, okay, they're doing that fucking annoying thing again, where they're taking a character that was a super villain in the comics and then making him an anti-hero because he kind of has, what's it called? He kind of, he has a sympath. Fuck. People have sympathy for that character's backstory, right? Because he wasn't always an asshole. Like, especially if you ever read the 52 comic series, which was the bridge between Infinite Crisis to Final Crisis, where in that series that series there was a shitload of main characters, but one of the story lines in that series was like Black Adam kind of became a good guy, had like a sidekick and a queen called Isis. They get killed, and he becomes a supervillain again, right? So it's like, oh, they're gonna do some shit like that, right? Where they're gonna make him an anti-hero, and it's like, okay, that's dumb. And they have the JSA in the movie, and it's not, it's kind of like a bastardization of like Jeff Johns' JSA team, where they have like they have race swapped Hawkman, which, well, you couldn't get. Okay, I get you don't want to make him white, but Caucasian, because we already have a lot of Caucasian superheroes. Even though you're replacing a lot of them, so it's like, what? But like, you couldn't make him Arabic or something, because like Hawkman had like one of Hawkman's one of his like past selves was an Egyptian. So what, they could have just made him Arabic or something, but no, they made him black. Even though when they wanted black actor for Martian Manhunter, and they wanted the John Stewart Green Lantern. Warner Brothers, knocked that shit down. But like, no, let's not have actual black superheroes in our. Well, Martian Manhunter wasn't black originally. Well, you know what I mean. But like, yeah, like John Stewart was an actual black superhero, but we can't have him. We're just gonna take a character who was race swap, which is like whatever, right? But that's not my problem with the JSA. My problem with the JSA lineup they have in this movie is who do they have? They have Dr. Fate, played by Pierce Brosnan, who's like the only reason why I'll watch this movie. They have Atom Smasher, which is cool. They have Atom Smasher. They have Hawkman, and then they have I don't know who she is. They have a other chick a red-haired like chick. I don't know who she is. Right? And here's the problem. You have like the Justice League's most top 3 famous characters are Batman, Superman, and Wonder Woman. The Trinity of the Justice Society of America, which used to be the All-Star Squadron, is Jay Garrett Flash, Alan Scott Green Lantern, and Ted Grant Wildcat. You have no Wildcat, you have no Flash, Jay Garrett Flash, and you have no Green Lantern. 2 of those characters I can kind of see would be a problem, but not really, because you don't have a new Flash. Sorry, you don't have Hal Jordan or other new Green Lantern Corps. You reference Green Lantern Corps, but you don't have a Green Lantern Corps. So why the fuck would it be a problem to have Alan Scott? You could have just changed his name to Sentinel, or like, because he's gone by other names other than Green Lantern, right? Alan Scott was the first Green Lantern created by Bill Finger, creator of Batman, by the way. Okay, so kind of makes sense why you wouldn't want him, but not really. Jay Garrett Flash, okay, I can see why he would be a problem, but like I said, you could have just changed the name, right? And then you have Wildcat, who's another iconic senior member of the JSA, and you don't have him either. What's your excuse for not having Wildcat? Other than, okay, maybe he's a useless character. Maybe his costume's a bit too much like the Black Panther, even though not really. He's an old man boxer, so I could get, okay, maybe you saw he was useless. Still would have been cool to have him in the fucking movie as like, a mentor. Right? Which that's what the old, that's what the those guys were like, you know, in the Jeff Johns run of JSA. They were like mentors, leading the new, like, you know, helping the new team grow. They weren't the main, like, you know, fighters, even though they were the most, you know, Flash and Green Lantern were the most powerful members of the JSA. They weren't the most useful because they were kind of old, but yeah, whatever. By the way, they could have had like no Doctor Midnight, no Sandman, no Mr. Terrific, which, you know, actual black superhero. You wouldn't have needed to race swap to anybody. Yeah. So, yeah, that sucks. That sucks, but it is what it is. Also, you would think they would have put Stripe and Stargirl, because, you know, Stargirl was in has her own TV show, but whatever. Our Man, I can gotta get. Our Man, like, would, you know, doesn't need to be in there. His powers kind of suck. So yeah, the final topic we're gonna have for this podcast is the new Dungeons and Dragons trailer, which came out like a week or so ago, with Chris Pine, Michelle Rodriguez. I thought it was. I mentioned this last podcast, but the podcast I did put out, that I find it funny that Michelle Rodriguez is in this movie, considering she is the ex-girlfriend of Vin Diesel, and Vin Diesel is a huge D&D nerd. Always wanted to be in a Dungeons and Dragons movie, which is why he did Witch Hunter allegedly. But, like, you know, it's funny that, you know, his ex-girlfriend gets to be in a D&D movie and he doesn't, right? Which Vin Diesel, such a D&D nerd, Lord of the Rings nerd. He actually auditioned for Aragorn for the Peter Jackson Lord of the Rings movie and was turned down. Racism. they did racism on our boy Vin Diesel. Which I told people that the only way I would watch the new Lord of the Rings of Power TV show is if they had Vin Diesel, which they did not have. No Vin Diesel, no review from me, Amazon. But yeah, I thought it was funny that, you know, that Michelle Rodriguez gets to be in a Dungeons & Dragons movie, but Vin Diesel doesn't. Which, you know, the budgets for 2 and 3 of Dungeons & Dragons, you know, could have needed a Vin Diesel, because they would have boosted the budgets by a little bit. They would have been low budget pieces of shits, which I actually saw I haven't seen the third Dungeons & Dragons movie because it's out of print, but the Wrath of the Dragon God, for some reason, even though people say it's worse than the third film, gets to be in print. When I watched that movie, I actually thought it was okay. It sucks, but it's, you know, there's some redeeming moments in that movie. So yeah, like, I tried to find videos of nerds trashing the D&D trailer. I even went to one of I'm subbed to this guy who does game review vlogs, but also talks about, like, Pathfinder, which is like a new Dungeons & Dragons, right? And I tried to get him to talk about the Dungeons & Dragons trailer, and he's like, fuck no, I'm not talking about that. But yeah, so what was I gonna say? Yeah, so my thoughts on the trailer is oh yeah, I tried to find videos of nerds trashing it, and I found one by Tony, I forget his name, Tony G, I can't remember. He's a guy who he's from Jersey, used to be a screenwriter, worked on TV shows and whatnot, used to write Simpsons comics. He did like a trailer reaction, and his thoughts were, you know, he didn't like, you know, the diversity. Didn't like. Well, he didn't say he didn't like the diversity. He said, "Oh, it's obvious. The casting is very woke." And he very much didn't like the female barbarian on the party. It should have been a guy barbarian, which there was a female barbarian in the second Dungeons and Dragons movie, Wrath of the Dragon God, and she was pretty hot, by the way, way hotter than Michelle Rodriguez, and she was a berserker too, or her brother was a berserker. I can't remember. Yeah. And my problem with the new Dungeons and Dragons trailer is that it's pretty fucking obvious that they're ripping off Guardians of the Galaxy. It's not bad enough that the new 4 movies are basically rip-offs of the Guardians of the Galaxy movies, but now Dungeons and Dragons is ripping off Guardians of the Galaxy, which it's such bullshit. It is. And by the way, I watched some interview where Chris Pine talked about it. He said, to prepare for the role, he went to his nephew. Bullshit! No kids play Dungeons and Dragons. I tried, like, a decade ago. One of my office friends, who used to play Dungeons and Dragons back in the day, wanted me to go to my local game shop to get, like, a kit for Dungeons and Dragons, so we could all have an office party Dungeons and Dragons. Obviously off hours, but I went out and got the starter set for like $20. Even went out and got little miniatures, right, for the party members. And I did a bunch of fucking research. I did a bunch of research and everything, which turns out it takes hours. It takes hours just to fill out the character sheets, because you have to roll for the stats of your character. You have to roll dice per stat, and then you have to roll till till you get the stat you want for your character, which, depending on what kind of class of character you want certain high stats for certain stats, right? Depending on what kind of build you're gonna have. So I had to do a shitload of research, and even I had to do shitload of research. Went to the store, buy the shit, and then the guys changed their mind last second, because they're like they were like, oh, you know what? I'm a grown man. I don't have 20 hours to fucking spend learning how to play a fucking tabletop RPG game, which it's boring as fuck until you get to a certain level, because you have to play the game apparently with training wheels until everybody gets to at least level 4 or something, and then you can go out and go around killing shit. Because when you're a low level character, you're basically you're not even a glass cannon. You're a glass slingshot, right? So no kids have the patience to play fucking Dungeons and Dragons, especially the kids nowadays. They're all about multitasking and shit, right? So Chris Pine was probably lying about that, right? And I know people were saying, well, it's great that this is a more faithful adaptation of a Dungeons and Dragons movie, because you have the different monsters from the game, right? The gelatinous cube, the gel cube. You have a black dragon spitting acid. You have a fucking owl bear. Okay, yeah, it's cool they have all these different monsters, but look at the fucking cast of our party members. All of our party members, yeah, they have diversity of casting, right? But they don't have diversity of fantasy races. There's only one fantasy race in the party, and it's like some kind of druid thing. I don't know what it is, right? Which I thought druids was a class. I didn't know druid was a race too, right? Maybe if I don't know. It's not. It's like she has like elf ears and horns, right? It's like the chick from the It remakes, right? So our cast of characters are all fucking humans. Even in the low budget D&D fucking movies, they would have like a halfling and an elf. Here we everybody's pretty much a human, right? So fucking lame, right? So would have been nice, hey, for us to get like a Dungeons and Dragons movie where you had like an orc and like especially with if you have a party full of thieves, then you can use the more like chaotic neutral races, right? Like drows and fucking orcs. But like because normally we're used to seeing dwarves and elves, right? We could have had a Dungeons and Dragons movie with a cast of party members where you have like an orc and like a dark elf on the team. That would have been fucking cool. But no, we get this fucking shit with all humans, right? And they make fun of the fact that the main guy, Chris Pine, is a bard. He's not even a fighter. Even though like there's parts in the trailer where he's wearing like plate armor and he has a sword. Right, so that's fucking lame that they're ripping off, Guardians of the Galaxy. The only good thing that will come out of this is that we'll get, maybe we'll get some new Dungeons and Dragons games. Can I fucking please? If I can't get a Dungeons and Dragons game that's basically Skyrim, which is what I really want, then can I get a Dungeons and Dragons game that's basically like Pillars of Eternity, which I know that the old games were basically that, but like they play like shit. The old Boulder Gate games, even like Tormented, like whatever, which got re-released on Nintendo Switch. Fuck, what was it called? Planescape Torment. Even that plays like shit. So like, yeah, I would like a new open world RPG Dungeons and Dragons game, for consoles. So, I played the PC Dungeons and Dragons games. They suck. Suck my dick. Okay. What else? I think that's pretty much it, guys. I might be doing some movie reviews coming up soon. On Saturday, I'm going back to the game store to pick up the new HeroClix boosters from the new HeroClix set, X of Swords, which, for the month of July, everybody was doing videos where they were showing off their X of Swords. X of Sword shit a month before release, and it's like funny because like some of these channels have like way less subs than me, but I would be embarrassed as fuck if I went to like WizKids and like, hey, can I get free shit too to promote for my channel? And they're like, oh, your last video got 10 views? No. So oh, fuck. Yeah. So that would have been embarrassing. But yeah, finally we're going to pick up some new HeroClix. I can only afford to get... I'm in between paychecks, so I can only afford to get like a booster or two. No, I can't afford a brick, unfortunately. But yeah. Well, look forward to that, guys. Peace.